Okay. Okay. Good evening, all. Thanks for joining. And the whole agenda is like I'll talk about my background in the next slide, and the agenda is here. Basic what is happening in the AI and what is a ecosystem. Like when we talk about AI, we all know the um, ChatGPT, Gemini in the front end, but in the behind the screen, there is a lot of technology, job opportunity, cloud, so many things are happening. So we'll talk about very high level ecosystem. And meanwhile, there'll be so many terminologies will be used during the sessions or during whenever you talk about AI. So it's better to know the terminologies because once you know, it's good to understand like what's happening in that. That is one. The AI agent, like we said, it's one of the subset of GenAI. The sequence is not correct here. Mm. So we'll talk about A agent little bit because this is one of the use cases of a GenAI and it's being used right now. Also, you can see in the, I have a demo today on the Google AI agent builder, Vertex. So that also we can briefly see it. And models. Models is the primary concept of the GenAI. Even though we talk about everything, end of the day, this is the engine of the GenAI. So I'll tell you what it is first whenever we talk, because the rest all are like a brief overview of what's happening in the AI, but models is the one you'll talk day-to-day basis. And even if you get into the AI role, that will be the main thing you have to talk regularly. And we'll see some demo, like what I have set up locally. I can show you how it works. And also, Arvind will show some of the LLM setup locally. And AWS Cloud, this is where I have started. So even though I have a uh, AWS background, Python background, Java, but when it comes to switching to the AI or upgrade knowledge on the AI, somewhere you have to get started with the certification because that is where you have a structured knowledge come into place. Otherwise, when you get into a YouTube, you have a millions of video about AI, and a lot of them are interesting, but definitely you'll not get into a proper direction or you have a thorough knowledge about what's happening. So the best way to learn is like a structured way, either Udemy or any other certification is the right way I would recommend for anyone to get started or on the AI direction. So Gen AI is a one like which changed the direction or perspective towards the AI. So without talking about Gen AI, there is nothing else here. And we'll talk briefly about the opportunities and some discussion we'll get into that. Okay. Like I mentioned, this is my technology background. The towards AI, it's all about learning and sharing the experience. I'm not a expert or a working professional on the AI front, so feel free to correct me or add your knowledge or experience or perspective towards AI if you know better than me. Because the one of the way I chose to improve my knowledge or perfect my learning is to conduct this session with all of you. So definitely I have to organize all that. That's one of the reason behind this session. And um, yeah, the difficulty level, it's about medium because all are working professional. I expect you to have some basic knowledge on the coding. If you don't know the coding, I mean, it's a little difficult to understand some of the areas, but still you can understand. And what we don't cover is like the so basic Python, how to do or environment setup. Hyperparameters is like you keep listening from the AI. It's okay to skip if you don't know because this is little advanced topic. And then tuning. So even though AI is like very frequently used, um, even if you come to the chat GPT, it's not accurate. And that's why they keep tuning it. So the tuning also one of a broader area within the AI, but we don't talk about that much here. And algorithms and neural networks, um, and working session. So since we restricted to 30 minutes or 1 hour today, definitely it's not possible to cover everything. And it's okay to skip some of them because most of them are like a borrowed slide from the internet. This is just to give you perspective about the AI. And some of the slides will have their own um, products to marketing. So we don't need to understand everything from the slides because some of the slides will have too much of information. It's okay to ignore it. Yeah. This is the main reason. I mean, why suddenly everyone is interested on AI right now? Because one of the reason is like very soon AI going to replace your job. The AI will start writing your code or whatnot. Like everyone keep saying everything about the AI and how it disturbs IT industry and every other industry right now. So that is partially true. Uh, I mean, in other side, it will take some more time to reach that state, but it's good to know what is happening in the AI space and how that is replacing our day-to-day work. So that's one of the reason for this meetup. And another reason is like upgrading our knowledge on the AI. And in case if that is happening, if our job is replaced by the AI, how to switch it to the new AI roles. So it's better to get started early and do some certification and then be ready. Um, so that's one of a fair expectation from everyone. So that is a one thing. I'll pause for a moment, a few seconds, if any questions, comments.
Kamal, it's not a comment, yeah, something like we talk about GenAI, correct? There are so many AI system in the industry, but majority of the people talks about GenAI because the GenAI use cases reached quickly to multiple audience or end users. Say, for example, if you take any recommendation system that is there in everyday use cases, like for example, if you watch Amazon or the AWS the movies, so behind the scene there is AI working and creating the recommendation systems. Okay, so and other thing like if you buy anything in Amazon, so that automatically generate your recommendation like this, you like it, something, correct? That is also AI is creating and bringing in. But nobody knows these things because a lot of laymen they don't know what is the behind the scene going on. But a lot of laymen talking about Gen AI because every day they are doing some kind of an email correction. Or before writing an email, they want to verify whether my email is properly sentenced or not. All those things. That's the reason they are talking about Gen AI everywhere. And then, as you said, like GenAI is not completely mature. Maybe like if you want to use some basic things, it supports. Some of things are advanced, little advanced, like that gives a lot of incorrect information because this purely depends on the data behind the scene, and the data is not 100% accurate. And also, we have the possibility to tweak the results. Like say, for example, if I say who is the president of America, if I say Joe Biden, it accepts. Like somebody, 10 people continuously say that not Joe Biden, it is Donald Trump, then the AI will start answering it, saying that it's not Joe Biden, it is Donald Trump. There's a lot of things there. Yeah, maybe we can discuss, and I hope we will cover those kind of things. What is the drawbacks, or what are the issues you have in the AI systems?
Yeah, we'll talk about that because even yesterday, I think somebody was asking
So I
that.
Yeah,
have
I saw that
one.
question there. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
go ahead, Prasanna.
Sir, see, basically, whatever question you are asking, I think it refers different models, LLM. See, the answers might differ in ChatGPT also. If you check, the answer will differ for the same question in different part of time. Why? Because ChatGPT connects to different LLM models. We have model, right? So basically, I think that as far as my knowledge, generative AI is to develop a particular model based on your system. For example, now as coding is concerned, I am a developer, so I develop a particular system. I want to develop some test cases for that. Generative AI is useful. So generative AI basically the LLM model what generative AI is having is text based. Previously we had a KNN and CNN, all these things. No, this is all only for RAG LLM they are using. But now we have only text-based LLM, text-based LLMs are there. So people mostly use this kind of LLM only. So yesterday and day before yesterday, I had tried a particular LLM where you can connect with the particular, if you know a particular model, you can connect with that model, and your expected result you can get through it. But when it is through ChatGPT, randomly it picks a particular model. I don't know whether I'm correct or not. You can, people who are there in the industry,
No,
they
it'll be
can
covered.
cover.
It'll be covered. End of the
Okay.
session, all these questions will be cleared. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think let's go through the session. Last
Yeah,
discussion vachikalam. That will be better.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right, Darwin. So definitely all these questions will be cleared end of the session. You'll have a fair idea what we are discussing is correct or wrong. So that is the agenda of the whole system.
Okay.
Okay. Again, we'll pass after some time. So let's get started. So this is without this slide, I think none of our AI class will be there, because there'll be always a term whenever they talk about AI, ML, deep learning, Gen AI, and data science. Data science is not there in this picture, but that will be somewhere like this. So, I mean, the AI started long back, with multiple decades back. But I mean, not many are aware or not talking about that, but it progressed so much. The ML and then deep learning. This is where the neural network started, and that is somewhere you can put a neural network here, and Gen AI. So, I mean, in the generally they talk about, I mean, what happened very recently, like why when the neural network or Gen AI reached so much evolved, that is where the question comes. So there are multiple background on that. One is this is where the Google started training or modeling from their own data, and also the computing power is increased so much, and the data gathered from us, from the internet and from the user inputs, all those are started happening at this area. So if you remember Google some time back, it used to ask us to classify whether it's an eagle or dog in the pictures, but it's not happening anymore. But the Google is the one who initiated there, but obviously like it's a transformer model or the research paper what they have submitted, and that is modified by the OpenAI. So when OpenAI kick off that area, and that is where the magic started happening. So we'll not get into much here, but this is to give a very big perspective. Like whenever somebody talks about all these different terms, we should know like, okay, this is all part of this area. Only to give a perspective, but nothing else, nothing more. And the models, neural networks, everything is present here. The data science is one of the biggest roles. Still, it's happening. The circle is somewhere here. The reason it's outside this box is like the data science is used in the Python or other languages to understand or research, market research on that, but not necessarily that is fit inside the artificial intelligence. Still, a lot of academic scholars are doing the data science as a separate profession, and in IT also the data science is a separate role that is still very valuable, and that is still considered very critical role here. And yeah, this is some of the question, Prasna, like you mentioned. So even though these all like different areas, the algorithms are keep maturing from one area to other area. But there are plenty of algorithms are there. Definitely, I'm not going to talk about any of them in the current session, but there'll be some more slides in the later, even the next slide. It will talk about like for what situation, for what category, we have to choose what algorithm. So this is like a much matured field right now. Even in some of the cases, if you provide the data, and there are packages that will tell you whether we are which algorithm is suitable for the current problem. You don't need to even decide yourself. Now during a training period or during a selecting period, you give a range. Okay, for this range, for this depth, what algorithm is suitable? then the framework will suggest you to choose the right algorithm. And so again, further classification here, supervised, unsupervised clustering. These are like, again, it's a broad field. Any one topic you take, like that is a separate.
Sorry to interrupt. Can you change into presentation mode so these letters are a bit small?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Angel. Yeah. So, like I said, any one topic you take, robot navigation, that's a separate department. There is a plenty of companies working in that area. So definitely, this is all just to give you the perspective what we are talking about, and definitely not get into any one area because our agenda or our expectation is somewhere else. Okay. Yeah, the next. Yeah, this is the one what I'm talking about. So again, like this is one of the best slide I have come across, and definitely anyone who's even a expert, he has to stick this somewhere in his wall and then check, okay, if I get started, where should I go? If I mean, you have a proper flow chart and then you know like where to end. So random forest, this is one of a popular area. If it's a dimension reduction, yes, go, then choose the multiple options here. So this is again the classification of the algorithm or classification of the problem you have to choose to end up into the right solution. And within that, if it's a random forest, then you'll have multiple algorithms to choose and then work. Okay, so this is very, very high level, and you don't need to remember anything. Like I said, for all of this algorithm, it's already somebody is written already. Somebody written all the algorithms, all the platform, and everything is present. You have to just know like, okay, what category we have to choose and what is our problem and what is our data, what solution we want. Only if you know that, like, you know how to properly classify, and then you can reach the right place. Yeah. This is again just very related to the previous slide, but a little different way of mapping. So you know, like, what is your problem, what neural network to choose, and then okay, you talk about the streaming quality, Dolly video, ChatGPT customer service. So you know that, like, again, this is a reference, like it's not randomly somebody is choosing the LLMs. It is very specific to the problem what we are dealing. Based on that, they choose the path. If you talk about like a LLM is required, then okay, it's a chatbot. So they choose that transformer, and you know that like where it's coming, the GPT and then BERT. These are the two classification you have to choose to serve that. And if you go for a face recognition, like it's used in a Google app or the mobile app, then image classification. So this is properly a category called classification. And within that, you have a RNN, CNN, logical. So random forest. So these are all the famous algorithms used behind the screen. And that is the best suit to have the image classification and forecasting. So similarly, like these are the end products, what we know. For example, autonomous vehicle, right? If it goes, then reinforcement learning. This is where we talk about. So we use a reinforcement learning. For example, if there is a speed break, you have to slow down. So that's a feedback given for the model to learn it. But here we may not, may not be suitable. If somebody says a wrong precedent 100 times, the ChatGPT won't consider that, because they use a different algorithms, they use a different training model, they use a different data validation compared to this. So these are the different mapping for different problem, just to give you a very, very high level example. Okay, this is all the background, like what's happening in the industry. This is where we get into our day-to-day work. Yeah, so like I said, mostly like the data is, this is a little different slide or different background. You have a data gathered from a different area, so collect the data and analyze the data. So like a data warehouse, when you try to put all the data into one place, it's ensure that you put only relevant data, clean data, and validated data or distributed data. So the analyzing the data, this is the data science job or data science role. This is one of a major um, effort taking stage that is very, very mandatory for all training data and develop. So that is where the actual place comes into picture. So the AI model development, it's not done by most of the folks in the industry. There are again, we'll talk further, like whether we are developing our own AI model or we are going to use some of the AI model available in the market. But this is coming into the model stage. In some category, you use pre-trained model like ChatGPT, and then you train it for your own data. So that is the hybrid method. Most of them are using it because you don't need to start from a scratch. What is the meaning of English word and then reach your own state? That nobody prefers because that is a lot of painful, and because the matured model is available for free or even the paid, and then pick it up and then you train your own data on top of it. If you are a medical professional, train with the medical terms or the relevant information, and then you pick it up from there. And algorithm development, again, this is like if you are very product specific or like you have very edge cases, then they go for the algorithm development. Otherwise, you have a necessary algorithm in the market already. It's very matured. And this is simulation. I think there is a separate slide. We'll talk more on that as well. And deploy. So once the model is developed, and you deploy it into a different environment, depends on your requirement. Either it's a car or in cloud computing or in desktop, depends on your need, you just deploy it. So this is kind of a very high level life cycle it goes across. So this is one of a slide I got. Maybe I have a few more slides. Let's talk. Yeah, so major players, obviously, like these top people are like they are the one who's ruling the world now in the AI space. So obviously, like OpenAI is initiated by um, Elon Musk. Then after some time, like he came out for some certain reason, and Microsoft started funding a lot of money into that, and that's one leading the world now. And Google, no introduction required. They are the one using the BERT transformer model, and here you have a GPT transformer model in the OpenAI. And Amazon is an no way related to the business, but with a very good cloud computing model. Because I'm learning on the ML certification, and their business model is very wonderful. If you're in Amazon, and you cannot do anything with the AI without their support. They have a wonderful the platform or the computing platform or the support system. I'm going to briefly show you today. But otherwise, they don't have any direct contribution to the AI, but they have a very good platform to build AI solution in their cloud platform. NVIDIA is like, I think, uninvited guest to the AI party, but he's the one right now making 100% money out of AI business, supplying their infrastructure. I think T100 is the latest GPU board, what they have, and everyone is fighting to get the GPU board because the AI model training and deployment completely depends on the GPU. The CPU, what we have in our system is like supports works, but the AI works wonderfully on the GPU system. And you need to know little bit about how the AI model works in a CPU versus GPU, because whenever you work, even we are going to see it today, you have to choose like what is your instance size or what GPU or what RAM matters to your training model. So So NVIDIA is like they're doing very good, and even you can see in the whenever you choose the instance, it'll ask you whether it's a NVIDIA based specific GPUs required to run your models or like that. And Meta is a wonderful partner in this space, because when all these are like a money making guy, he's the one who releasing Llama LLMA model into the open source category. And I mean, even though these all like very powerful, and end of the day, if you want to do any small project at your desktop, or if you want to do because this ChatGPT will restrict you after certain usage, and Google is okay, but I'm not comfortable in the models. But the Llama is the one very developer friendly. You can install locally. I think Arvind going to give a demo on that today. And somehow like when you start working on this, like you will started liking Meta and then Llama model and Olama, all those. So I mean, you have to spend more time on this area. So these are the other players here, but Hugging Face, like I said, if you are spending more time on the AI, no doubt the Hugging Face is a model hub. Like I mentioned, you are not going to develop a model from scratch day-to-day basis. And there are plenty of models being developed and matured models available for free for you to get started. And that is available in the Model Hub community. So Model Hub is a community where everyone will develop their own model, and then they'll come and showcase or deploy it here, and then you can use it for free. Some of them are paid model. Even all of the GPT, Llama, BERT, all these models are available here for our use. So the Hugging Face is another developer-friendly community, and that you have to use day-to-day basis. I don't know what is this players. Yeah, so at some point you have to decide whether you're choosing an open source code or models or closed source. Obviously, like the open source, like I mentioned, the Llama is as a limitation or compared to the performance in the paid one, but it's easy to get started, and you don't need to, it's a lock-in and transparency. So these are the benefits. And the closed ones, obviously, like has a benefit because it's always a good performance, but at some time, like it's a lock-in. Even like if you are going to try the ChatGPT API, I'm not able to try because it's keep asking me to upgrade my account to premium account. Only then I can get started. And similarly, like the Google, it gives a $300 to get started, but that's about 25,000. But if you forget to close the instance, it will be get over very soon. Amazon, forget it. If you want to get started with the AI, I don't recommend any of this other than Meta or Llama locally, because these guys are like very premium to get started your development or learnings.
I think you should talk a little bit about Anthropic. Maybe I'll just cover it a little bit. See, compared to GPT, OpenAI, Anthropic is another very, very strong player in this area. They're giving very tough competition to OpenAI. In fact, they are neck on neck. If GPT releases 4, they release Sonnet, right? And so on and so forth. So they are very similar companies. Both are closed source. They have their own solutions. But today, if you look at the market, these two people are neck on neck. Just to add to it. Yeah.
Oh,
please continue.
Yeah, I'm not aware of that guy. Maybe.
So you would have heard Claude model, right? Claude model comes from Anthropic.
Okay, good.
I'll cover it in today's session.
Nice. Okay, so this is this slide I liked because we talk about multiple players, but you see a multiple layers. If I talk about if I have a ChatGPT, do I have a full solution? I may not have, because the ChatGPT comes into picture at one location, the foundation model. But again, the solution I have to deploy it into the cloud platform. The compute, again, I have to depend on either Intel or NVIDIA. And so again, model training, that's a different layer. Then ML ops, I think this is one of job opportunities good in the market. Even if you have all of this deployed, let's assume that like if the business is as usual with AI, somebody have to manage it. So how are you going to manage that? By deploying or day-to-day like that? And the top platform is like for the day-to-day basis, like how are you handling data cleaning and the data lake. So all these are like at the top layer. So if it's an enterprise solution, obviously you need to have all the layers. So that is where like each player and what they are contributing and how you are categorizing it. So that is where like the AWS comes into picture, even though he is not directly contributing anything to the AI world, but he's one of the best in the cloud platform. So it's difficult to avoid him. Okay. I'm rushing a little bit because there is a lot to cover. Yeah, AI agent. This will sound like a Matrix movie, but this is something little advanced version of the bot version or chat bot or any bot you can call it. So because like we used to have a bots before, but what happened now, everyone started talking the AI agent. This is one of a term. Probably like whenever they say like your job could be replaced, I might suspect like, okay, it could be a AI agent, not the AI model, in terms of terminology. So the real world examples are like too many. Like even if you take a Alexa or Sri, that could be one of a AI agent, or like you can have a like hundreds of way. The inputs of obviously it's all going from the user. The agent is like kind of an engine with AI intelligence, and then with a specific scope. And in the background, it has the knowledge and the information, and um, and it's running 24/7. You can have an agent for email, so that can clean up and then it can respond to the incoming emails, and it can take action from the email. That's a one way. Or like you can have a agent for the Telegram or WhatsApp or email agent or telephone. Like the medium is a different way, but the agent can fit into many areas. Like for example, the popular agents nowadays is like what is it? Chat version. So in the most of the web page, if you open, immediately the window pops up and then start asking questions. So in fact, I have a sample demo version today, and the Google it's developed, so that we are going to see it. I think we talked too much on the. Okay, I think few more slides, and then we'll go to a demo. Otherwise, it'll be too boring. Okay, this page will give you a very proper idea, like what this. I mean, this is very good, but this page will be especially this graph will be keep changing every minute, because everyone is keep releasing the algorithms day-to-day basis, minute by minute. So somebody will say like, okay, 3 is better, 4 is better, 5 is better, and you never know like what is the current state of it until unless you use it by yourself. So the llama is the one what we are talking about here, and the GPT 4.0 or 4.1, that is what recently being used on the chat GPT. And this is a wonderful graph, because not a single model is best for everything. Probably the GPT is a one good scoring here, like it's touching all the different segments and then it's doing good. That is the highest benchmark in the GPT overall. But otherwise within inside, if you see that like different colors goes on a different area, which means like they are good at something, they are not good at something else. So the GPT obviously scores good in the overall all the segments here.
Yeah, and if you see this on the right-hand side, the models, right? If you see here, you see GPT, which is from OpenAI. Then Claude is from the Anthropic that I mentioned.
Okay.
So
Oh,
when 3.5 came, it was being spoken like this is like really good model. Then Claude came. Claude was like better than GPT. And then GPT-4 came, which was better than the Claude. Then and Anthropic released Claude 3 and 3.5 now. So 3.5 is equivalent to GPT-4o.
okay. Is it a paid one, Claude, or free?
Yeah, they all paid.
Okay, okay.
Just want to add one thing to this. Like ChatGPT, we have a free Claude version accessible via the web interface. It comes with a limit similar to
Correct,
Chat.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Both of them come, they are paid, but they come with free limits.
Yeah. Just to add a fun fact, there is a saying that the rush to release the ChatGPT from OpenAI was all because Claude, that is the Anthropic, was way ahead of the game, and somehow the news got leaked out, and OpenAI jumped to win the market with the first release.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Is it the still same case? I mean, still the Claude is ahead of GPT? I mean,
Yeah, they both are neck on neck. They
Yes,
keep
yeah.
fighting, like Intel and AMD used to fight before, right? So the same game.
Yeah.
okay, okay.
The results are really amazing with Claude.
Okay, haven't tried. Okay, good, good. Okay. Okay, the models. Okay, I think I'll take a break here and then I'll show some of the basics. Otherwise, it'll be too theory and we are not seeing anything in the screen. So that'll be a little boring. Okay, first I want to show Colab. And so in all my examples, I'll be using only the Python as a language of medium here. The reason is like I said, Python is very friendly and then everyone is started using. And if you know the Python and if you don't know the Jupyter notebook, the difference is like in the Python normal coding, you run a top to bottom code once, and then the Jupyter, you can run part of a code multiple times. That's a one advantage. In that case, it calls as a IPYNB, Python notebook. You can have a Jupyter notebook in the locally installed version and you can use it, or every every cloud platform you go and then there is a lot of communities they are providing um, the notebook version online, so you don't need to have anything. You can directly just to connect to it and then use it, and you can choose even the um, the CPU or whatever you want the resources based on your requirement, and you have to pay obviously. So this is the Colab by Google, and this is just to show you what how it looks like, the basic version of the Python in the online version. So this is the IDE you use day-to-day basis, and so this is a Colab. And the next friendly version what I use is like a Visual Studio, and you can install the extension for the Python notebook. Once you do that, what you do in the Jupyter IDE, and you can do everything here. So this is one of a very, very simple basic code what you can do. This is again, let me show you the code first. So you run it and then you see the output here. And this is a one of, not only that, see, these are all bits and pieces of a code. And I'm going to show this, run it later and then explain a little later. But again, so if you run it, you can see the visuals also in the same page. So you don't need to have a Jupyter as such. Locally, if you're a developer or if you want to try out the models, this is the one of a very convenient way of doing for me. Arvind, what you are using?
Sorry, I speak in mute. No, I use VS Code, yeah.
Okay. So I felt this is very convenient. Okay, this is the one, and yeah, when I talk about this, it's better to talk model hub as well. So yeah, this is a model hub I keep talking about, and this is the most happening place right now in terms of models. If you come huggingpace.co, if you come here, like this is the number of models available for us to use, and this is a list of classifications, right? If it's an NLP and you have so many classification and audio, tabular, and reinforcement learning others. And if you come in any area, the text classification, for example, you can see here like everyone, Hugging Face, the famous players on this page, Facebook AI, and so basically, everyone, including Open AI, Google, everyone is here, and you can start using it directly. I'll show you very briefly how we are going to use it. So if you choose what to use, and it will open up a page something like this. For example, this is the OpenAI community GPT-2 version of the model, and we'll talk more, but this is just to give you a sample, just to ensure to keep you all engaged. Um, so this is the name you have to use in your code. So this is the sample code. That is what I have used. So in your Python locally, if you import the package of a transformer, and then if you say what model you want to use, and then it'll simply use it. You don't need anything else. And that is what you have to use. And in case if you're using it, and here it will give you all the information, like what data they have used, and documentation, and everything will be inside here. And some of the model will have a even yeah, so these are the information, and some of them will have a direct code reference as well in GitHub. So yeah, so this is a model, you can say that GPT. So with pip install, if you install this package directly, it will pick up a transformer, and this is a pipeline. Again, I'm not going to go code by code, and you don't need to understand for this session. And in the behind the screen, it's going to pick up from there, and then it's going to run locally. And the models, the necessary artifacts will be downloaded locally, and it's going to run on your local laptop, and you have to just run it. So in this example, if I give this couple of letters, and then it will start generating a text based on the number of words. Like if I say 20, it's going to generate a text starting with this word. And if I change more, so it's going to provide more. So behind the screen, like I said, this is using the model GPT-2. So this is what we are going to talk more in the later slides. But in real time, this is how it's going to look. And where you're going to place this code, in the API or in the ChatGPT or chatbot, um, or in your web UI or anywhere, that's up to you. But this is how the model gets live in the day-to-day basis. We'll go back to slide. This is just to give you a sense of how the IDE or the coding or the technology using the models in the ground reality. It is only to give you that information. Any questions at this point? Because this is a kind of a checkpoint. We all have to sync before going further into the details.
Come on, quick question. Like if you use these models, like it's going to, in case if you're using my keywords or like my data to train or like leverage these models, this data the company is going to use it, or like they consume this data, or like this will be private. The data will be private to me.
This is Vijay, like I mentioned.
Mhm.
See, this is one way. Like very easy way to put it is like C library, Studio IO, or the Java package. It downloads the package or data from the internet locally, and then it runs with your code. There is no way it goes back to the internet. This is all happening locally.
Okay, so
And
basically these are libraries. Simply import
yes,
and leverage those
yeah,
libraries.
just for
But
the
how about
understanding,
the
saying a library, because in
Mhm.
case of library, it's only the the code package is being downloaded. When we talk about model, like I said, we are going to talk more about the model. So when we keep talking about the pre-trained model, which means like these are the texts already present in the model. And now if I switch off the internet, this will still work, which means the necessary information is already downloaded in the laptop. And no way it's going to take back your information back to the original model. It's one way. So it's like a dictionary, or like the model is a pre-trained model which has a data, also the structure. So that works along with your local data. And no way it goes back to the, it's going to take your data. It's all happening locally.
Okay, got it. Like say, so train and test, all those things will happen with our own data. That those data will not be shared with these companies or internet.
Yep. The next one, I'll take a little bit more advanced example, how to train, then you'll get much more clarity. So this is just to give you like how the IDE looks like, how to use some of the models from the public community, something like that. I mean, to better understanding, I could say like the models are like something like executable binary along with the data.
Okay, got it. Yes.
Any other questions from anyone?
தமிழ்ல ஒரு கேள்வி கேட்குறேன்.
சொல்லுப்பா.
ஸோ இப்போ டிரான்ஸ்ஃபார்மர்ஸ் ஃப்ரம் டிரான்ஸ்ஃபார்மர்ஸ்ன்னு சொல்லியிருக்கிறீங்களா? ஸோ ஆக்சுவலாக வந்து மாடல் வந்து சாட் ஜிபிடி, பட் ஆக்சுவலி இட் இஸ் LLM மாடல், ரைட்?
LLM is a common, correct. LLM is one of a
ஓகே.
large language model.
ஸோ அவங்க வந்து என்னன்னா பேசிக்கான ஒரு சின்ன விஷயத்தை மட்டும் தான் நம்மகிட்ட லைப்ரரி மாதிரி கொடுத்துருக்குறாங்க. ஸோ இப்போ வந்து we will be able to modify that library, right?
See, that is what, like I mentioned. See, in this ChatGPT, they have used certain model. Okay, you can further enhance or train more data. இப்போ இதுல வந்துட்டு அவங்க வந்துட்டு they have given with pre-trained model போது வந்து it's like half cooked food. அவங்க வந்துட்டு ஒரு half cooked food நம்மகிட்ட கொடுத்துருக்காங்க. On top of that, we can do all further cooking or further adding, all those we can do it. But this is one of
that will not updated to their model.
No. This is, like I said, this is all already locally downloaded. If I switch off the internet, it will not use any of them. And this is not a paid version. I can go ahead and then start using further. It's completely available locally.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Maybe you can imagine something like layered architecture. Like they will have the base version. On top of that, you will have your custom version. And when you go and check, if it doesn't exist in the custom version, it will go and pick up from the default version, which is the base version. Yeah. Correct me, Kamal, if I'm wrong.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, got it.
See, yeah, just slightly I'm going off topic. That's how the Docker images, you can compare that, how the Docker images are built. I think it works in the same way.
Yeah, the best example what I always think of is like the combustion engine. Like when they first developed the engine, like they have only the engine. And if you put the engine to a bus, it's a bus. If you put into a car, it's a car. So, and again, the raw engine is like a very basic engine. On top of that, if you add turbo and if you add a more fine tuning, and then it runs much faster. But the core engine is like, it's developed by somebody. So if I say GPT, okay, it's a petrol engine. If I say bird engine, that's from Google. So just for understanding, you can say that, okay, so petrol engine is much faster nowadays, like that. Okay, we'll go back to the slide. Yes, model. The reason I stopped there, like because only if you know the little bit background, it's good to catch up the further area. See, this is one of slide, like the models are like, it's not end of the life, because the models like it comes with certain maturity. It doesn't mean that that's going to work forever further. You need to have a day-to-day preparation. Time to time you have to check whether it works, because it's a life cycle, obviously. The data preparation we talked about already. There's a lot of happening here. in terms of preparation. And model building, like model is one of engine, what we discuss now, GPT is for one of example. Training. So the model, like the transformer model, I think in one of a slide, so that is one of a more model classification comes from the both these guys, Google and then the OpenAI. There is a little difference between how they both use encoder and decoder. We'll not go into that. That's a slight variation. Because of that, only OpenAI got the edge on that area. And so, like I said, we normally, like most of them will not go for this model building, but we will use a pre-trained model, like a Hugging Face community. But what we do is like model training and tuning. You come up with a pre-built, pre-trained model, and then you use advanced parameters for your own requirement, and then you calibrate the model for the best fit. And see, if you take the model, if you're into a finance domain, you might have a more technology term than the ChatGPT. So it's better to take ChatGPT model and then train it for your own domain. Or if you're into a mining domain, then you might have a more data or more information about that. So take that raw model available in the market and then best tune it and then train it for your own requirement. So once this is done, then deploy into the actual requirement. You could be using in the space, or you could be using in the cloud computing, or you might be needing into your own Mahindra car, right? So then use appropriate hardware and then deploy it. And the best example is like the car deployment, because when you are on the go for more than 100 kilometers per hour, you may not know like it's connected to the internet to get the further response, because you should be equipped with all the information to decide on the go within a fraction of time, right? So the mode of deployment always depends on your own requirement. So that is, but in terms of the whole life cycle, like the number 3 is the one like where we spend more time, or number 1 and 3 is where like we spend a lot of time. And model management, that's where we talk about ML ops, how to maintain it like day-to-day basis. Like if like somebody says no, your data is wrong, then somebody have to see and then validate whether that is correct or not, or if it has to be corrected, and then further it has to be used. So 1 and 3 is like where we use a lot of time. Okay. Yeah. This is Docker example, what mentioned by Vengat. So you have a better developed model, but when it comes to a day-to-day life of a software architecture, how it's being used. So the process is like where it's going to be used. So you have a model and configuration. You can ignore all of this. You can call this AI model from the API if you want. And then you can deploy it into the Flask, and then you can use it. And the Docker container, like I said, the deployment. If you are going to the cloud deployment, that is one of the best way to deploy through Docker to scale and then serve millions of customers. So the Docker is the one currently being used, but there could be plenty of other options. But Docker is one of the most convenient way. And this is one of a slide I got, so that's why I'm sticking with the Docker. But there could be multiple other ways. There are a lot of frameworks available in the market, even for the training or deployment. There are so many things happening, but this is one of the best way for deployment. And once gets into the API, then it's technology agnostic, because the Python is the one which we keep talking. The model is very friendly and the most happening technology with Python. But if you're working with any other technology, like the API is one of a way to interact with any other technology, either it's Java or Node.js or C, Golang, whatever. Okay, next. Okay, I think we are end of most of the slides. We'll go for a little demo here. Okay, give me a second. So this is a, I'm not going to cover the entire program, but just to give you a rough idea. So any code you can independently, because I have already executed this code from local. This is one of a sample code I have taken from, I think, Kaggle's. The flights is a CSV where you have a data about the number of list of flights and what is the airport it's using and whether it's delayed or not. This would be the perfect example to know how the ML works, or like how the Python can be used for this ML learning. So this is only to give you an example, and again, you don't need to feel overwhelmed and don't say, no, this is not my cup of tea because AI is having too much of coding which I don't understand. You don't need to come to that decision right now, because you have a lot of different roles. This is one of a data science role. If you decide, if you want to be a data scientist, maybe this could be your day-to-day work. You will be working Excel sheet and then data morning to evening. So the actual raw data is available in this format. You have a date and whatnot relevant to this. And you can see that it's having about a millions of rows. And this is not present in the database for the easy access, but this is how it's presented right now. But it's it doesn't matter how it comes. I'm closing this because my system will run out of RAM, even though I have 32 GB RAM. The reason I'm talking about the Excel sheet and everything is like just to show you the power of the package, what we have within the Python. So very high level, I talked about only three. Pandas is how you handle the data frame by frame. And NumPy, how do you handle it with the code for calculations. And Scikit. Scikit is one of a package for training the data. So these are the three like most used within the Python language world for the AI. And this is how it picks up and it keeps in the memory. And then this is all, like you can see, half of the code is about, if you're familiar with the data warehousing, this all you'll do it in the part of ETL. Now, all this you're doing it through the coding. And I mean, if you see, this is part of a data cleanup, data training, only that. And you may not do this day-to-day basis. If you have seen the last page of the screen in the life cycle, this is kind of a one-time activity. Maybe during a development, you do this. And once it's deployed, you may redo this maybe after 6 months or 1 year or after 2 years. You may not do that. But in terms of ETL stage in the data warehouse, that is like a day-to-day process. Day-to-day basis, you get the data and then you load it. But this is only for, well, cleaning up a data and loading into data model. Sorry, not loading data to model, training the model. Only for that, this data is required. So this is all happening through Python. You can run any part of the code n number of times. It doesn't matter. It will pick up from the last. That is the advantage of this Python notebook. And you can have a, I think it's a plot lib. So this is it can produce all like wonderful diagrams on the go, and that will help you to make decisions. So again, I'm not going to go in detail. And one of another important thing I want to mention before training the data, all the data are represented as a numbers before training. Even though I have, and it's denormalized data. That is one of a common term you can derive from a data warehouse, guys. So you may have a data properly, but you have to completely denormalize the data, even though it's duplicate here. And end of the day, before training, all the data will be only in the numbers. There is no text. So even that's how the GPT works. So that is one of something called embeddings. So that is how, maybe that is the reason they call it as a machine learning. Okay, I'll stop here. I'll not go further. This is just to give you an example, like this is how it happens. See, this is a side learn. So one of a very basic I'll talk about. I don't know, we are keeping up in the time. So always you have a two set of data, for training and then test your model. So you have 80% of data kept in for training your model, and 20% used for test the model, whether the model works properly for the relevant data. And you will run that data multiple times into the model, and it gets adjusted to the data, how it behaves. So that is called epoch. So, or simple terms, iteration. So that depends on, you can say that, okay, I can run for 100 times, 200 times, something like that. So this is one of a way to validate whether the chosen model is best fit for training this model or not, something like that. Okay, this is one of example for the ML. What else I have? And the same thing you can run in the Colab. Okay, I think I'll stop here, and then Arvind, you can start sharing your models example, and then I can come back, and then I'll have some more thing to show, like AI agents. Maybe I can show it a little later.
Sure. Okay. Let me see. How do I share here? Okay, share screen.
I have one question, but I'll ask in the last.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
இல்ல கடைசியில கேக்குறேன்.
Sure. Okay. It's asking me to set some security and privacy for sharing the screen. 1 minute. Okay, I think I have to quit and reopen Zoom because it doesn't allow me to share the screen otherwise. So just give me a minute. I'll join.
Okay, I'll cover something more until you join back. What is your question, Prasanna?
இப்போ ஒரு எக்ஸல் ஷீட்ல ஒரு ட்ரெயின்டு டேட்டா காமிச்சிங்களா?
Okay.
So that is a set of data. Some columns are there, and you had put that column inside numbers ன்னு வந்து நீங்க சொன்னீங்க. It should be treated as numbers. So for example, year, month இதெல்லாம் வந்து numbers தான் வந்து we have to store it in the model.
See,
you told that everything is numbers.
No. Our job is to supply the data for the model training. How it keeps the data within the model is like we can't see it.
Okay, அது வந்து பைனரியா இருக்கும். So systemல அப்படிதானே இல்லையா?
That we don't know. That's a magic box.
Maybe I have some more points to add. So I'll start from this. So ஒரு text input கொடுத்திருக்கீங்க. So how the model understands is text வந்து it is represented as tokens.
Token.
First terminology. Let's step into the terminology. நம்மளுக்கு text for the humans, for the machine, it starts with the token, and the token is further broken down into something called vectors. Vector is nothing but a mathematical representation of a data, and the data in the இடத்துல tokens. Tokens. For us, it is text. So in the LLM அப்படிங்கிறது இன்னொரு another set of input to add top of that is இந்த LLM அப்படின்றது எப்படி வந்து டேட்டா அசோசியேட் பண்ணுது க்ளோசஸ்டா. கமல் சொன்னாரு, நிறைய அல்காரிதம்ஸ் பார்த்தோம் இல்லைங்களா? ஸோ எப்படின்னா இட் இஸ் நத்திங் பட் த ஐடென்டிஃபிகேஷன் ஆஃப் த நம்பர்ஸ். டேட்டாங்கிறது நம்மளுக்கு தான், பட் நம்பர்ஸ் எவ்வளோ க்ளோசஸ்டா இருக்கு அப்படின்றத மேட்ச் பண்ணிட்டு இட் இஸ் கிவிங் த டேட்டா, தட் இஸ் த டேட்டாஸ் retrieved in the form of similarities.
No, you're right, Karthi, because I didn't purposefully share any of the transformer and all your data information, because I kept it that for the next session or the advanced category. But I have a wonderful slide today that will give you more idea. The tokenization, self-attention.
Nice.
Arvind, we can see your screen. You're mute.
Okay, am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, just a second. So my screen is visible, I hope, right? Yeah. Okay, so we talked about running models, etc. Let's say I want to run a GPT model locally. How do I do it, right? So first, let's see some online models. Is my browser visible?
Yeah, visible. Yeah.
Okay. This is asking me to log in. Okay. So I had shared the other day, if you want to anonymously use GPT, you can use this browser, DuckDuckGo. It's basically a browser, but they have this website called DuckDuckGo, and there's an option called AI chat. When you click on it, it basically gives you an option like a chat GPT where you can chat with your chat GPT model and ask whatever questions you want, right? For example, it's saying, it's responding. And here you have an option to choose whichever models you want. All these are large language models. We have an option of GPT-4o, which is by OpenAI. We have a Claude 3 model, which is from Anthropic. And we have large llama model from Meta, right? And there's another model called Mixtral. All of these are typically open source. These two are closed source. As you can see here, clearly it's called out, right? Now I'm going to give you a demo of, let's say so whatever you do here, the thing is whether you use Claude website. So Claude.ai is the website for discussing, or using the Claude model, using on the Anthropic website, similar to your ChatGPT. Whatever you do here basically is used by they reserve the right to use this data, whatever you put here, right? You might ask a question, you might maybe submit a code and ask it to improve the code, whatever it is, right? Now that is basically a problem in large organizations where privacy is a big problem, and our organization's policies do not allow us to use these models so openly, freely, etc. Right? Now, so that is one of the reasons where a local model might help, right? So somebody is asking question like, what happens all the data, whether it goes to the company or not, right? So that is where local models help. But unfortunately, local models, we can only use the open source versions right now. These people don't give us access to use the local models. These models locally, right? So thanks to Meta and similar folks, they have come up with really good models, which you can still use locally on your systems. Now, typically systems need to be really powerful, but some of these models, again, there are different sizes of the models, depending on some smaller models can be run locally on your laptop itself. If you have powerful system, it is good. Otherwise, it will be a little slower. That's the difference. Okay. Now,
yeah, sorry to interrupt. Actually, I think Copilot with Microsoft, they allow to localize within the organization. For example, like previously I was working with Rabo, and they approved to use Copilot. I think that's because they use that base model plus on top of that the organization specifics, and they don't let to go whatever the things discussed within that to back to their general model that stays within the organization specific models, I think.
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt. Actually, I just seen in my organization, like the security team is assessing like how the data is storing in within the Copilot area in Azure. They do some kind of a check and evaluation. Based on that, they are accepting it. I think now whoever use the Office 365, most of the organization is Copilot is accepted. And they do know that it stores some data, but again, security team some are assessing with Microsoft, and they come to the conclusion that it stores within the organization in such a way that no other organization can access this data.
Yeah,
it is my understanding. I could be wrong as well.
No, that's right. So all these large company integrations are happening behind the scenes, and things are working. But let's say you're in a company where you don't have that option right now, then how do you play around with it, right? That's where this comes into picture, right?
Yeah.
So this is a very good tool called Olama, olama.com. If you just go there to this website, there is an option called download. When you click on download, it gives you options for downloading it on Mac, Linux, and Windows. Typically, Mac and Linux, it's really good. Windows is a recently supported one. I've tried it on both Mac and Windows. I've not tried Linux, but Mac and Linux are very similar. Windows version is also recently, it has been enabled. It may not have all the features, but it is decent. Okay. So you download, install it. Once you install it, I'm going to give you a demo how it typically works. It runs from the background. Okay. So typically what you do is you just give the command called olama run whichever large language model you want, similar to your Docker, right? Docker connects to its hub and pulls the image. Similarly, Olama connects to its repository and downloads the model that you want to run locally, right? So I'll just give this command, Olama run llama 3.1. Is my terminal visible?
Yes.
Yeah. So basically now it is running locally right now. So similar to ChatGPT, I can ask whatever questions I want. Right. So you can see here, it's basically generating, right? I can basically chat with it the way I want to. And all this is running locally from my system. Okay. Now, I'll just come out. So if you see here, this is the command I've executed, Olama list. These are some of the models that I've downloaded and I'm playing around right now. Typically, this is the size of these models. It's not really huge. Okay, Olama 3.1, which is by Meta, which is fairly powerful, equivalent to ChatGPT 3.5, I would say. Okay, and that equivalent model is only about 4.7 GB right now. Okay. Similarly, there are several models. Some models are optimal for certain purposes. Llama 3.1 is more general purpose model. I think Kamal showed a picture where it showed certain models are really good at certain aspects, right? The kind of a web graph. So on those lines, Llama 3.1 is more like a general one. And we have certain models optimal for certain purposes. Like this Code Llama is specifically good for code, right? And similarly, recently, this model called Mistral Nemo, this is from NVIDIA. So this is also pretty good as a generic model, okay? Now, there are several models which you can see here, like Docker Hub repository. You have, you can come here and you can see all the models that are available. So here, if you see Llama 3.1, Gemma 2, Mistral Nemo, Mistral DeepSeek Coder. This is again a coding optimized model. You can see here, it gets attributes here, right? Mistral has tools. Yeah, Code Gemma is for code, etc., right? So there are specific things. And again, to answer one of the points that Prasanna brought a little earlier, right? Now, large language models not necessarily are text-based. Most of these are text-based. Hence, you are talking about generating text and stuff. But there are models and obviously code as well, which is also nothing but a text. But there are models which are multimodal, right? Which will analyze images, videos, generate videos, generate images, etc. Right? So those are called as multimodal. Typically, GPT is a text-based model. The GPT 4 and 4.0 are all multimodal, which means they can analyze even pictures, they can generate pictures, and so on. So on the same lines, there is an open source model for multimodal, which is called Lava. Lava is helpful if I want to, let's say I want to upload an image and, analyze that image, or it could be a PDF file, right? So it will do that. I can upload an image and then say describe, and it will do that for me. I've not tried this yet. So I can't give a demo of that, but I'll show you a demo on the large language model, Llama, etc. Okay. Okay, now I showed you something on the command line. It was easy. I mean, it might be boring. It might be even difficult to use, right? So there is something called UI for this. Again, there is something called OpenUI, which is by, I think, Olama itself, but I've not tried that. I use something called as a anything LLM. Now this comes inbuilt with Olama as well, which means you could download anything LLM and it will have inbuilt support for Llama. But I kind of was trying out Olama before, and then I used anything LLM. Now this is more like a UI that will help you, interact with your models that you have downloaded. And there are many advantages of this. I can, like,
Kamal showed a demo, shared the demo on the WhatsApp, right? There are two models talking to each other on phone. Similarly, I can actually make two models talk to each other using these UIs, okay? I'll not go into that right now because we will not have so much of time, but 1 minute. Yeah. So here, if you see, I'm kind of configuring this to use Olama. There are many engines that it will support. It can even connect to OpenAI behind the scenes, Azure OpenAI, Anthropic, LM Studio, Local AI, Mistral, and so many things, Grok. There are several service providers available, including AWS Bedrock, which Kamal mentioned, right? I can connect to all of these providers and run with it. I'm using my local Olama right now, so I'm just doing this. So I'm connecting to this, and it immediately shows what are the model that I have on my desktop, right? So I'm just going to use this thing, and I'm going to update the agent workspace, right? Internally, it has a vector database as well. So you kind of keep a track of certain information. So here, if you see, same question, I'm posting it here. What it's internally doing is connecting to the local model, getting the response, and it'll display it here. It might be a little slow, but let's see what it does, right? Because it just got created. I think sometimes first time it takes some time. Okay, so you can see it gave the response. Now, let me just cover a little bit about drag. I don't know if Kamal has information about drag. So let's say, just to give you an example of RAG, right? Now, I asked about Delhi and it gave, sorry, I asked about capital of India. It gave the information that the capital of India is Delhi. It again, based on the pre-trained model and the knowledge it has, it is able to say this, right? Now, if I say, who is Aravindan, right? Let's see what it says. It says Aravindan is a software engineer. I have no idea how it got actually. I didn't train it. 1 minute.
No, RAG, only one information I'll tell you. RAG is the only LLM which uses the KNN. No other model is using KNN.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. So I don't have too much of knowledge on RAG right now, but what I understand is basics of RAG. Maybe people here can talk a little bit about it later, but I'll just try to say what with this example. So right now, I asked who is Arvindan. It is basically saying something. Arvindan is a software engineer. I have no idea whether it is saying truth or wrong. Again, like I said, sometimes large language models will tell you some information which may not even be true. That is where we call it as hallucination, right? Now it's saying Arvindan is based on New Delhi. I have no idea where it is coming from. But typically this is not useful to us because we want, let's say we have certain information, we want the model to use that context or that information and still make sense of it and then provide us answers, right? Now, from that perspective, what I will do is that is basically where RAG comes in. It's called retrieval augmented generation. So basically, I am augmenting a pre-trained model with some data set that I have, and then asking the model to retrieve the information from that augmented data set, use its own brain that comes with the pre-trained model, and then help answer my questions, right? So that's where RAG comes in. Now, the advantage of the Anything LLM tool is that I can provide some data to it, right? Now, if you see, I have given it a text called avian.text, okay? Now, I'll show you what that avian.text is having. So I just coded something called Arvindan is the AI superhero in Bangalore, right? Now, this I have given it as an input to the model. Basically not given the input. Basically, I'm just saying that use this in the workspace, right? And now let me type who is Aravindan and let's see what it says. Now, if you see, the response changed, right? Response is saying Arvindan is a AI superhero in Bangalore. Okay. Now it says Bangalore. Same question which I asked some time back. It said New Delhi. I have no idea where it got that information from. But right now, when I ask some question, it's saying that he's from Bangalore. So this is an example of what RAG is about. Okay. Prasanna, do you agree, or is there anything else that you want to add to it?
No, I agree with that. This is what previously Karthik told. No, so first layer it has checked the local LLM, but the software engineer, no, this is what the nearest model, what it is there, it has come from there, I assume.
Correct. So based on whatever the pre-trained model is, it has somehow got this information. Arvind is a software engineer, etc. But again, yeah. So this is something where it is useful, right? So general large language models, what it is helpful is I have a lot of with open data. I have trained it. Now I want to use that data to maybe associate my data with it and then make use of the brain to make sense of that information and give it to us. So the large language model is not just for generating data or information, it also helps in understanding that information. I'll give you another example of this, right? Now, there is a PDF file, which I'll show you right now. So this is a Infosys ka PDF. And if you see, it's an annual report from 2023. It has huge amount of data, right? It has images, etc., etc. And it's about 358 pages, right? Now, what I'm doing here is, 1 minute. So if you see here, I've given this particular workspace, I have uploaded this Infosys ER as well to give it to the context. And now whatever questions I ask about this document, it will be able to make sense of it and tell me that, okay? Like for example, so if you see, it says 3,40,000 employees, right? And it's saying as of March 31, 2023. Now it also shows something called as a show citations here. If you see here, it says clearly, I got this data from Infosys. It's not got this data from the pre-trained model. It is able to read this data PDF file and make sense out of it. And then whatever questions I ask on top of it, it's able to answer it. That's the beauty of this GenAI, right? That's where GenAI is becoming very, very popular, right? Now I can ask several questions from the PDF, right? Which I don't make sense of, etc. Or if I don't have time to go through the entire PDF, that could be one of the reasons, right? Or think about it, like this is a huge data set in your organization, sales report, etc. Your CEO wants certain data or a report. GenAI can process that information and present it in a very consumable way in a in a matter of seconds, right? Now, this is where a job comes into a risk, because same work, I think about 6 years back or 7 years back, when I was in Dell as a data analyst, this is exactly what I used to do, right? We used to have huge amount of data, and we had our directors who have weekly reviews, and the directors will come and ask us specific data to be presented to them. What we do is we pull all this information, compile it, and then put it in decks, and then we present it to them. Okay. And that's exactly what GenAI is doing in a matter of seconds today. And I'll show you some demo of that as well today, right? But again, just to say, where is that PDF file gone here? Yeah, 1 second. So here you see there's so much of information, right? So maybe I'll just ask something. Okay, I think I've already asked some question, which I'll just show you right now. Okay, so I just asked it a question which says, how is the net current asset as compared to 2022, right? And it says, based on the provided context, here's a comparison of net current assets for Infosys between 2023 and 2022. Particulars, it's a standalone consolidated net current assets in crores, cash and equivalents is so much, short-term investment is so much, trade receivable is so much, blah, blah, blah. And it also says, comparing the figures, standalone net current asset is increased by 57,000 crores in 2022 to this thing and whatever, right? Consolidated net current has also increased from this to this. And again, it says citations, right, from this particular document, right? So you can see the beauty of GenAI and machine learning, right? So this is something that I wanted to show you. So, okay. Now, over to some of the, see, again, a couple of other demos which I'll show you right now. Right now, these are models running locally, like I said, right? And they are still so powerful. It's not that they are not powerful, but the models that are available online, which is ChatGPT and Llama, ChatGPT and Claude, they are much more powerful. And I'll show you some of the demos of that right now, right? 1 minute. Okay, so this is Claude. Claude is considered a little more powerful than GPT, what I've seen for a couple of reasons, especially on the coding aspect. Okay, so I'll show you something. So here I just asked something called as build an interactive sales dashboard based on the data below. Jan 2300, Feb 3000, March 4000, April 5000, 3000, etc. Right? This is the prompt that I gave. Okay. Based on the prompt, it gave me this output. Okay. And in Claude, there is something called as artifacts, which you have to enable by, I think it is enabled by default right now, so you don't have to worry. But if it is not, then you have to go to settings and you have to enable artifacts here. Make sure this is enabled. Okay. I'll tell you why and how is this useful. Right. So if you do this and I ask this prompt, it will basically give me output like this. You see this output here, right? So based on the data that I just provided, it built a UI for me, which is interactive dashboard. Okay. And you could see here, the entire code is also available.
Ati, your job is gone.
Sorry?
No, I said somebody's job is gone.
Yeah. It is like Jarvis, right? So you can see it has given me a complete code, HTML code with JavaScript, etc., and able to do it. Now, there are even more powerful prompts. There are some videos online you can see where I'm asking you to build a snake game, okay? And it will do it in seconds. Let me see if I can do that. Okay. 1 minute.
Sorry, I have another question. Like, does it give any complete entire projects? Like, if I ask for example, like if I'm in .NET, does it give the whole file, the whole entire solution in a zip file or something? Like, does it?
Yeah. So this, so it is possible with Claude. There are certain frameworks, which I will talk a little bit later. I don't know if we will have time. Actually, this one, right? It is an entire game, and it will be able to show what I showed you, right? The UI is also rendered here. I don't know why it is not showing the rendering the UI. 1 minute. Okay, and there are certain frameworks which will connect to Claude. There are a couple of frameworks called as Aider. AIDER. Basically, what that does is it connects to the Claude API. You just have to give the key, similar to ChatGPT, right? It will be able to generate all the files as well, not just one file, right? It will generate all the files. So if I see here, why is it not? Okay, I think I might have run out of this credits. That's why it's not able to show me, or maybe let's see this. Okay, I think it is generated here. Okay. So if you see here, it is a snake game, right? So it's a fully functional game, okay, which is able to generate and do it. Now it's a single file here, but there are examples which are there online where I can use certain tools called Aider, okay. Aider is a AI pair programming in your terminal. It's again a free open source tool. And if you see here, right, you can again give the same things, right? And it will basically generate all the files. It can generate, even if it is like 3 or 4 files, multiple files it can generate, and it can even correct, which means that its entire application can be developed using this. Let's say a simple to-do application, etc., right? It can also analyze your entire application if your application is like 4, 5 files, etc. Now there are certain limitations. It cannot process, for example, everything. Okay, so every model has something called as tokens, and it has a limitation on the number of tokens it can take and process. Now there are certain workarounds for it. So what do I mean by tokens, right? Now let's say, for example, I gave an input here, right? Build a snake game and render it. So this is the input token, and this is the output that it is generating, right? Now every single word is considered as a token. Okay, so there are limitations on number of tokens you can process, etc. And there is another concept called quantization, etc., which is basically the quality of the model that is being used. All of this requires a lot more powerful machines. Now, whatever I'm doing right now online, it's able to use its own servers. But if I'm running it on a local, then it basically I need to have a much more powerful machine, right? And you can see here the size of the model, right? 8B, 70B, and 405B. So these are all the sizes of the models, right? 8B is basically the model is trained using 8 billion parameters. 70B is 70 billion parameters, and 405 billion parameters. 405 billion parameters is the biggest model that we have from Meta, which is an open source model, which is almost equivalent to a ChatGPT 4.0 model. Okay, so that is the power of it. But again, I cannot run this locally. Now, there are ways around this as well. So there are something called as firmware. There are, again, providers, right? So there's something called fireworks.ai, which gives you a hosted model. Okay, so you can see here that Meta Llama 3.1, 405 billion models. I can basically, they will provide it as an API, which I can integrate into my application and use this model and derive whatever I want to do with my application, right? Now, what kind of application I'll build? I can have some sort of a workflow processing model, or a workflow processing application. Example, right? Let's say as a banking application, I want to process all my customers' loan applications, right? Typically, what does a person do? They will upload Aadhaar card, they will fill a form, upload that PDF, and a few other things, right? So based on the filled up PDF form, I will have to extract all the data, like what is the name, age, what is his income, etc. Then I have his bank statement. I will make the GenAI model to go through the bank statement and understand whether his salary that he has quoted on the application form matches with the salary in the bank statements. All that can be coded, and it will just upload the file, and it will do all this processing behind the scenes, and then it will give a result whether applicant is approved or not, right? To that extent, I'll be able to do it with the help of these models. Right? So some things I will not be able to use it locally. We will definitely need a powerful systems, and that is where again all of these Copilot and all of these kind of things are coming in right now, where organizations will enable such options, and we'll be able to build these models and use this. Okay, I'll give you another example. of this Claude, which I developed. I don't know if it will come here or not. So I gave a text prompt, okay, and I'll show you the text prompt. All I told it is this. So create an HTML file for a real-time object detection web application using TensorFlow and Cocoa SSD. The application should have blah, 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 right? Access the user's webcam, display the video feed, perform object detection in real time, draw bounding boxes, etc., right? So I gave this prompt, and what it did is it gave this file to me, okay? Let me see if I can do it. Is the screen visible?
Yeah.
I see you are as a person.
இந்த
Yeah.
உங்களை தான் பார்க்குறோம்.
Do you see the bounding boxes?
Yeah.
So it basically built the entire application, right? Internally, it is using the model, and then it basically developed this application for me. All I did was just give this prompt, right? So that is the power of GenAI, right? In terms of building these applications for me. Okay, so this is another example which I wanted to show. Yeah, that's it, Kamal. Over to you.
Thanks, Arvind. Okay, the real question comes. We have seen the power of AI. What is there for me? Do I have a job, or do I have opportunity, or I lose it to somebody who's making money, and then I'll sit at home, right? That is where the next 20-minute session comes into picture, right? All the AI, GenAI, everything is powerful and good. How can I pay my EMI, right? So let's look at the second part.
Hey, Kamal, sorry to interrupt. I have a quick request for Aravind. Thanks, Aravind, for the nice demo. I need like some reference or documentation, like the first demo you showed, correct? Like build some example demo and upload the PDF and raise a question, ask a question. So can you give me some documentation or steps or any URL link where I can follow and build one for me?
Sure.
I don't know if
First one.
it has that or not, but
Kamal, I am
I
also
have it
there.
in my next.
Arvindan.
சொல்லுங்க.
ஸோ எனக்கும் சேம் விஜய் சார் கேட்டது எனக்கும் வேணும்.
Sure. I will share it. So there are few tools, AI, Aider, and there is another editor. It's called Cursor. Okay, which will basically similar to your VS Code, and it can generate all the files end to end. Okay, I forgot to give one demo. 1 minute. Maybe I'll just share my screen once again. Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Okay. So in VS Code, just like Kamal showed, right? I want to write code, right? And I want to analyze my code, the existing code that I have, etc. Now, how do I do it? You can come into VS Code, go to extensions, right? And then use certain extensions. One of the extensions which I explained was Aider, right? I can search here and then I'll be able to install it. Okay, I've not used Aider before, so I'll not demo it with that. I have something called as a continuum, which I have installed right now. One second. So this is
sorry, Arvind. Your Visual Studio is not visible, man. We can see your.
It is still your real-time demo.
Yeah, I think you used other screen, sharing the other screen. Maybe.
1 minute. Sorry. Desktop one only I've shared.
Still, we are seeing.
Okay. 1 minute. Oh, okay. Okay, I think, is it visible now?
Yeah.
Okay, so there are something called extensions, right? Here in VS Code, there are many extensions, okay? There is something called as Codium. It will be something like your autopilot, which is given by GitHub, right? Copilot, so not autopilot, Copilot. So similar to that, I want to use my local model, right? I can do that with this extension called Continue. And I can either use an online model or an offline model, which I can configure in extension settings. So 1 minute. Okay. So once I configure it, right, let me not just go into configuration and stuff like that. You can see here there is a text box that has come up on the left. Okay. Now with this, I can chat with my model just like how I did, right? Like I'll ask the same thing. Now what it is doing is it is basically sending this question to the model and it is giving me a response, just like a chatbot, right? Let's see what is it's giving. So it's able to give that response, right? Now what I want to do is I create a new file, okay, and I can basically give it certain prompt, right? I'll show some example that I've written here. So I gave a prompt saying, write a bubble sort algorithm, taking 10 inputs, right? And it's basically written this Python program for me, right? I'll show this example here. This is a program that was written by the model that I'm running locally, okay? And if I run that Python program, so it's able to run the program and it's give me the output, right? So this is one thing. And let's say, for example, I want to analyze what this method is doing, right? So I'm just highlighting it and putting it here. Explain this piece of code, right? Again, I'm using my local model here, right? So it's saying that this is an implementation of bubble sort, and it is basically giving me exactly how it is working, etc., right? So all this is coming from my local things. Now, this is exactly how I would be able to write code or develop programs. Okay. So this is using this extension called Continue on my VS Code. And if I'm having some errors, etc., I'll be able to debug it as well. Okay, like I said, on the similar lines, if I use certain things like Cursor is a paid version, unfortunately. It's an end-to-end editor. And there, on the similar lines, I can basically ask it, and it will generate a full stack application, including Java, HTML pages, JavaScript, CSS, etc. So if I open my file explorer, I'll be able to see all the files that it will generate as well. Okay, so there are certain links which I will share it later on WhatsApp, where you can probably refer to it. Okay, yeah. Over to you, come on. Or any other questions, I'm okay to answer.
Thanks, Arvind. That's good demo, but I like the Codium plugin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is
Yeah.
how it's useful, right? With our office code, etc. If without submitting it to ChatGPT or stuff, I will be able to still use my models and still achieve whatever I wanted.
Yeah, thanks. I have a quick question to ask. Do you have thumb rule in selecting the models based on the configuration that we have in a local machine? What do I mean by that is the size of the model definitely would have impact on the RAM or the capability of every machine. So
Yeah. See, typically large language models, like I said, the 70 billion model, etc., it requires at least 32 GB RAM. I've run it on a 32 GB RAM machine. The 405 billion model of Llama 3.1 does not work on local systems. It requires, I think, much more powerful systems. I'll be able to find some reference online where I could show, which model will run locally and stuff like that.
yeah, thanks.
Yeah, the Llama model actually they give a recommendation that 3 digits, only single digit, 2 digit, 3 digit parameters. So I think the first one is works. Second one, I don't think it supports 32 GB. It runs out quickly. The last one you cannot run. That's about 700 gig of model size. So that doesn't run. The small one it runs. It's on 7 GB, I think. Okay, so there's a lot happening. I think we have to keep syncing regularly to know the latest updates. So I have a little bit remaining, about 20 minutes, like we can wrap it up quickly. I'll cover two: AWS, cloud computing, and GCP. In AWS, I think I'm sharing right screen. Yes, I'm sharing right screen. Amazon's SageMaker. This is the one for all ML AI that is useful. I don't have a demo because it's all expensive for every usage, but still I can show you the basics, what they have, the kind of layout. Like a similar to Google Colab, we have a studio here, and in the studio is where you can make all your data, train, model, everything. It's kind of IDE. And one more, the domain is the one which you have to get started, and it works perfectly with the AWS ecosystem. The Jumpstart is the one what I want to share. Very similar to what Hugging Face has got all the models. AWS is not shying away for doing the same in their layout. And you have all the models, whatever available in the model community, you can pick up here. And some more, it's like kind of a premium version of that. And most of them works. And you can basically plug in and then you can use it in your own studio, and then you can start writing the code. So not only that, this is I think for sentimental analysis and the training. Actually, I don't have a slide for that. So they have a very similar to pipeline. The Amazon has a wonderful framework for end-to-end model creation, maintenance, deployment, and everything. So it's like a CI/CD for the AI model builder. Once you develop the code and then you can check in, it can go end-to-end and then deployment. So very similar to CI/CD pipeline, you have a built-in framework within AWS. Obviously, that's not free. So nothing I could try it here, but I don't have a slide to show. So that is how the AWS works out. And one more I want to show. Okay, 1 second. Before going to GCP. Yeah. So this is obviously, like we know, this is the top people. This is one of an interesting one. I want to show how the model works, or the transformer. I think in one of our question we talked about little bit on the tokenization and vector and all. So this is one of an example. Like I read a good novel. Attention is a novel idea, and a novel is the same keyword, but in the first case it refers a book. In second case it refers it's a unique or new. But when you feed it to the AI model, how it understands whether it's a book or it's a idea. So to see that, obviously, like behind the screen, the neural networks, how it behaves and how it forms the connection, there is something called self-attention. It gives a weightage. This word meaning is decided by the different word. Basically, here the good. Or like for this word, meaning is defined by the next word. But how does it know like which word to link to understand the meaning? So obviously behind the screen we cannot see it, but they have built a visual tool to see this. So I think that's what seeing it. So you'll have a fair idea how it behaves behind the screen. So this is a tool again from Hugging Face, and you give a text, it does the all the background work, and this is how it prints out. So this is what, like he said, it's a tokenization, or in the behind the screen what happens. So if you see here novel, in the first case, it refers to a book. So it has a strong connection or the weightage to the word and the right hand side good compared to other words. So based on the good, you can see below my cursor, it says it's a book. The probability 0.066% probability, it's a book. So that's how behind the screen it works. So this visualization helps us to understand what's happening behind the screen. And similarly, if you put the next context, so the novel, it has a strong connection to the idea. So based on the idea, the prediction is new. So this is the behind the screen, how it works. So these are the, you can say that the neural network, how this forms, like just for the visualization purpose. Okay, the last one I have the demo today is again Google AI agent built, and that is something called, they have an agent builder. And here I'm going to use RAG. What Arvind has done it locally, I have done it in the Google Agent Builder, the GCP. So this is one of a sample I have pulled somewhere. So it has got like all the laptop, smartphone, everything here. So very, very similar, same what Arvind has done locally. So in this case, what Google supports as a cloud provider, they provide all the tools to achieve the RAG in the cloud, and you can have a front-end interaction with any tool you want. So you can basically provide that solution, incorporate with directly to with the enterprise. So this is got very simple, like only 3 steps. You can do it very quickly. So the PDF what I have shown, I have used here. So the agent you have to simply use, and this is the instruction you have to pass. The data store, I have used data store here. So we have to create a bucket that is very similar to S3 in the AWS and just upload that. So once you do that, it extracts the data, and then you can have it. So right now I haven't integrated with any of the tools. Like you can have it in the Slack, Discord, Telegram, or Azure bot service, anything you can integrate, but some of them are like premium, so you have to upgrade it to do that. But the same data you can see in the right hand side, like how Arvind retrieved the RAG, you can do that. So once it's integrated, you can just deploy this into the corporate network, and then you can just give it to them. So it's available. So that is how the cloud provider makes that solution very elegant. So the same data, but you keep it in the cloud, and you build the pipeline, and then you integrate it, and you integrate with the front UI, and it's ready to go. It's very quick. So this is one of the AI agent sample I have given here with RAG for the chatbot. But very similarly, we can have a you can have others also. Like this is what the data store is what I have used, and you can integrate with the API as well, and then other functions. So there is a lot of other ways you can integrate. So data retrieval is one of the easiest way we are doing it. Okay. Yeah. So the next steps, like, okay, so far we have seen what are the different options are there and how to get started. So the Kaggle is a one very good community that is a very beginning it is started. So if you're interested, it's a good place to get started, the Kaggle. And very basic examples are like the Titanic will be here. I think that's one of the basic thing to get started. And if you're pro advanced, you can get into the competitions where the prices are huge. There are a lot of teams getting involved into it. Not only that, there is a real the hospitals or clinic, the institutes who are involved with the image scanning, the breast cancer detection through the image. All these are started here because this is one of a pro community among data scientists. So this is where they get started. They might be paying 50,000 here, but once that model is proven good or accuracy is more, I mean, they'll make multi-million-dollar out of that business. And you can go to any of this competition and you have a data code, everything you can download locally, and then you can get started. So it's very powerful community, but this is one of a leading community till now. Okay, anything else you okay, anyway, due to time, let me move for the different slides. Maybe in the end you can add. Okay, so I mean, these are the different roles available just for the few samples. And if you search for it, like there is a too many. And one of the way to get started or switch the roles is like getting a certification done. That is like when you get started with the YouTube, you have a lot of videos, but you'll go nowhere because there is a lot of interesting videos and interesting tools, but end of the day, that doesn't give you a hike or the role change or anything in your job. So the certification is a good place to get started. Right. The last slide, yes. So we talked about competition and career roles and job or business opportunities. There are plenty of companies making money, but one company I want to talk about is like I recently read about this guy. I think last week or 2 weeks back. So what this guy, like within a year, his company reached about like $1 billion company. It's not obviously a company, but this guy used to work for a investment firm where they find a buyer when some company they want to sell it in the Japan. So it's kind of a matrimony site. You have a seller of a company, buyer of a company. So you have to find a right match. So traditionally in Japan, there is a lot of aged people. They have a big companies, but they want to sell, but they don't identify a right buyer. So he used to work in the investment firm and identifying a seller. Over a period, like he got a very good understanding of the business and then database of all the sellers or who are available. So what he has done is like he just put a layer on top of it, and then his company like skyrocketed. And obviously, like he has become a $1 billion company very soon. So not only job opportunity, there is a lot of business opportunity as well. So I want to highlight this. Yep, that is all I have today. Let's keep it open for everyone.
Yeah, so I pasted a couple of slides which I wanted to talk on the right side. Kamal, can you open that?
Yeah.
So any AI typically, can you open the first one? Not this one. There's one more that I pasted a little earlier. Use cases. Yeah, maybe you can zoom in. The other one. Yeah, we can open this one first. Yeah, so typically you can broadly classify all use cases into these 12 families, right? So you can use AI for predicting, forecasting, autonomous systems, planning, decision intelligence, recommender system, segmentation, classification, intelligent automation, perception, anomaly detection, conversational user interfaces, content generation, knowledge discovery, right? And if you, Kamal, can you just zoom in a little bit? No, into that other one. Yeah, if you zoom in a little bit. Yeah, so there are some examples, right? Like under forecasting, basically you want to forecast the demand of an electricity grid for the next half hour. Or let's say you have a data of your sales and you want to forecast what will be my future predictions going to be, right? Or in terms of planning, for example, there's a complex system. Let's say, for example, you're talking about EVs, right? So there are so many vehicles, EV vehicles, which are being run in thing. Let's say I have that entire data set of all the EV vehicles. I'll be able to see, based on that data set, I'll be able to see where should I position my charging stations in entire Bangalore, right? Let's say I have a heat map. With that, I know that this is the largest segment where a lot of people are using EV. So that is the right place for me to put an EV station, right? Rather than a place where not many EV buyers are there. So there are several use cases where AI can actually help or solve problems, right? But then there are several different types of AI that we talked about. Kamal was talking about it. Kamal, if we can probably go to the other one, the other slide, right? So there are several techniques, right? Right from classical machine learning to deep learning, and then comes Gen AI. Okay. We've had several variants of this, right? So we had as simple as rule-based thing, right? You have statistical methods based on which you had simulation models that can be generated. So when we say non-generative ML, we can talk about linear regression, logistic regression. There are several machine learning models available, right? So these are different common AI techniques we can say. And the first column is basically generative models. Now we need to pick and choose the right model for the right kind of use case that we're trying to solve. It's not that I can use GenAI or ChatGPT to solve all the problems in the world. Okay. If I use GenAI to solve a mathematical equation, it is 50-50, actually speaking, right? It might be able to solve or it may not be able to solve. There are mathematical fine-tuned models that are coming up right now, and maybe there it will shine. But if I take a general model and then try to do some forecasting, it will fail terribly. Okay, so that is where this is coming into picture, right? Like forecasting, you see as low. If it is low, you should not use it, or something. In some cases, you cannot even use it for some of these models. So this matrix kind of explains where you should use which model, where it will give you the best results. This you can actually use it as a reference. Yeah, that's it from my side.
Thanks, Arvind. Hey, that's all, guys. Let me stop recording.